The temporary altered memory is something that Bernina has had for years, and I love. I use it quite a bit, and I'm going to show you a great quilting technique that it can be used for. What it actually is let's say you're on a straight stitch, and you're using it at a longer stitch length. So I'm going to raise it up to 3. I'm going to actually make it to 4 so you can really see the changes that I'm making. Then I need, you know what? I need to go do a zigzag, and I'm going to set it for a satin stitch, which is a really short stitch length, bringing it down close to 0, and maybe a little wider stitch width. And now I need to go back to that straight stitch, do a seam on another project, and when I go back to stitch number 1, it's right where I left it, not cleared out to the default setting of the machine, but right where I left it the last time I was using it. Then when I want to go back to stitch number 2, it's right at the satin stitch setting that I've used it at, which is great. So you can do width, needle position, and stitch length, all 3 of those with every single stitch, and it will retain it during your sewing session. As soon as you turn the sewing machine off, it is going to clear it out. So you might write down what your settings were, and then really quick, next time you sit down to sew, put those back into the settings you're using it. Now, for you quilters, you're going to love how you could use this to your advantage. I'm going to switch from the regular foot to the walking foot. So the walking foot is what came with it. Here's how I like to hold it. I'll hold it in my right hand. I'll put my thumb underneath it so this little arm is up. This arm will need to come around the needle screw and then also slip on and underneath. So when you actually are using this, it is going to, as you see, let me just go ahead and hand turn this down. See how that is actually attached to the needle screw? That is actually what makes the walking foot walk. And I'll go back to a straight stitch here. Oh, still long. See how wonderful it leaves it there. So if I just clear it out, and I'm going to pick stitch number 2, I'm going to clear that one back out too. So it's right back where I started. But then the walking foot will definitely help because I've got batting underneath and through in here. So I'm gonna just do some little stitching. So if you've ever done, go ahead and get this little thread out of the way. And perfect. So if I have to start stitching, if you're doing stitching in the ditch or doing some echo quilting around your project, you've usually been told to start with short little stitches at the beginning, and then go to the length of stitch that you need for your main stitching, and then to stop, reduce the stitches down to short little tiny stitches. That way you don't have to back up and have that extra thickness of thread. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up the machine for a temporary altered memory for those 2 types of stitches, shorties and long ones. And then all you have to do is go between them. So let's do this. Let's take a straight stitch. Now, usually when I do my stitching in the ditch or stitching around something for echo quilting, I make my stitch length somewhere between 2.5 and 3. That makes it so it's not so small when going through the layers of the batting. Then I'm going to jump over to stitch number 2, which is a zigzag, unless you take the stitch width and turn it all the way down to 0. A stitch without any width is a straight stitch. Now, if we take this straight stitch and shorten its stitch length, I'm going to go just below 1. It is ready to do those short stitches that we were talking about. And if you've ever tried to pull out short stitches when you're doing any projects or tiny stitches, they don't come out. And that allows you to clip that beginning and ending thread right next to your fabric. You don't have a knot on the front or the back. It's beautiful. So here's how it's going to look when we start off. We're going to start off at stitch number 2, which is set up for the short straight stitches. So it's going to do short stitches. You can do anywhere from 1/8 of an inch worth of stitching to 1/4 inch, however many you want to take. Some people take 3, 4, 5. I've even done more. It doesn't show. Then you're going to reach over here for stitch number 1. That's the setting we set up for more of the longer stitches. Do long stitches. And let's say you need to stop somewhere in the middle of your project. For the short stitches, reach over. Stitch number 2 is set up for those short stitches. And just sew until you need to stop or you get to the intersection you're sewing up to. My needle's down, so I'm going to touch and hold the needle up button for 2 seconds, lift up my presser foot, and pull this out. Let me show you. I like to usually clip my threads on my way out so I don't have to do them later. There's one clipped right at the tip there, so I don't have to do anything, and then one on the back. So we have stitches that are not going to come out here or here, and they look perfect in between. And I can just come in here, take my scissors, clip, done. No problem with those stitches coming out ever. So a little tip on using the walking foot, as well as using your temporary altered memory, and if when you need to go back to normal stitching, you can push clear, and that will clear out those settings for you.